Indian telecom operators are finally coming to terms with the disruption caused by Reliance Jio. Most have now taken a conscious decision to guard high-value customers and shed off low-value clients. And that's where technology comes in. Jio is now on track to roll out 5G services, while older players like Airtel and Vodafone Idea rather strengthen their 4G services first. So has Indian telecom, a sector which is always focused on client additions, come of age? Let's ask Rajiv Sharma, co-head of research at SBICAP Securities. Rajiv, good morning to you. And 5G, according to you and your recent note, is going to be the single largest catalyst for the telecom space in the upcoming future.
Yes, hi, good morning. So the way to look at it is that both Vodafone and Bharti have planned a rights issue of 5 billion each. That's 10 billion. If you add to this the Africa IPO of Bharti, the perpetual bond, the potential tower monetization, that's all going to add up to $16 billion. Now, most of this is going to get into 4G spectrum capacity build-up by the incumbent telcos, because they've got roughly 180 to 250 kind of subscribers who are on 2G, and they need to migrate that on 4G. So the combined capacity which they will put up is more than 450 million subscribers if they were to put all this 16 billion into their networks. Now, where's the 4G market today? It's 400 million. And we are a 750, 800 kind of unique subs market. So you're adding 450 in a 400 market. So what will be left for Jio from a 9 to 12 or a 12 to 15 months perspective? And Jio has not only been a tech leader in the telecom space with a pure, unique, single 4G network, because others have a hybrid network. He's also been a thought leader. And we believe that they will look at this development very critically, and they will, take a step ahead and roll out 5G. So we believe that the auctions will happen early next year. There may be a couple of times when auctions, there's no take-up and the price is correct for the spectrum. But early next year is the 5G auctions, and roll out by end of next year, which means that India, unlike 4G, we lagged 3 years versus China, will be very close to China on 5G.
But what does it do to prices then? Because obviously you're going to see a tweak in prices once the additional capex comes in, once the rollout of 5G happens. So that's going to be built into the system, right?
Yes, that's a very fair point, and exactly what we have suggested in the report, that post 5G auctions and before 5G rollout, you're going to see a very firm, significant and decisive tariff increase. So everybody's, even incumbents are hoping that now it's all about when Jio will raise tariff. It's not about when Jio will raise tariff, what will lead Jio to raise tariffs. And it is the 5G launch. Because today the 4G service is not priced at the fair value. They were priced with the notion that Jio was entering a 13 or 10 player market, and it had to take market share. Plus it was a voice market. Data as a category had not evolved. Now when it comes to 5G, Jio will have to revisit the prices to ensure that the longer term business makes an IRR. And once you have rolled out a new category of service, it's very difficult to raise tariffs then, at a later stage. And from a regulatory perspective also, if you've paid a lot in the auctions, it's easy to take that tariff hike before services roll out.
So how much are you factoring in terms of price hikes? If you're saying that the rollout will happen next year, second half, how much of an increment can we anticipate in the run-up to the rollout?
So we believe a 15 to 20%, or I would say on a higher side, a 20% tariff increase is very likely.
Okay. What happens to the industry structure as a whole in terms of consolidation, in terms of those few big players making their foothold stronger, and the entire structure of the industry changing?
Just to follow up to that, Devina, I think the note suggests, and he's saying that the industry may move to a conclusive market structure with 2 private players. So that's the interesting point that I
so that was coming to in terms of the structure and the number
I think so what has happened is that today, despite a stretched balance sheet, Vodafone Idea have been able to repair that a little bit with both A, the rights issue, assuming it goes through all fine, and B, the operational synergies, the merger related synergies at the OPEX level. But will it be enough for them to go and participate in 5G? And if you look at their 4G capacity addition strategy, it's focused. It's focused in 10, 12 markets. It's focused in the CBDs. It's not pan-India. So they are a pan-India 2G operator, but they are moving to more kind of quasi-regional 4G operator. And when it comes to 5G, it's very important that how good your 4G network is. Because 5G is all about densification. And that's why we believe that we'll move to a very decisive market structure, because currently it's like 3, and let's say if Jio was to delay to 5G rollout by another 3 years, then we'll always be 3, and that's something, you know, the challenger has accepted. But if this rollout happens early next year, then you are to a very conclusive market structure. And not only that, regulators always have the tendency to issue new licenses in spectrum at any stage. Even, you know, you can look at developed markets like Singapore or Japan or any other market. That can happen any point of time. But moment the telcos have moved to 5G, it's a significant entry barrier, and make that regulatory exercise just a theoretical exercise.
Okay. Now, since you're talking about significant capex that is lined up in order to, you know, get going with 5G, what does that do, and does that put significant pressure on our ROEs? And the other part of the equation is Bharti, for one, even Jio to an extent, they're looking to monetize assets and to pare down debt, because they have a big debt on their balance sheet. So while we're talking about increasing capex to make sure that we have our treasure chest ready for the rollout of 5G, what happens to the angle where you're looking at bringing down your debt?
Yeah. So Bharti was, you know, Bharti's got a relatively better balance sheet than Vodafone Idea. We believe that there was no need for them to raise as much as 5 billion in the rights issue. But this is with the thought that 5G is coming and we need to participate in that. That's what, you know, our thought process is. So it's not, so, you know, I don't think anyone should be building that capex intensity will decline, because even 4G capex is lot to do. And the incremental part is only the spectrum auctions, where you just pay 50% upfront and rest is paid over 15 years. And that can get taken care of with a price increase. So while there will be a one-time capex, but there will be a price increase, but it only goes to the guys who really go and participate in 5G.
So what happens to ROEs?
So ROEs, maybe for first 2 years when you have these auctions, again dip a little bit. But the industry structure, how the analysts will look at the terminal value, given that now there will be only 2 and there is no scope for anyone else to get in, and you know, new line of revenue streams coming in. Very gradual, which will be IoT, machine-to-machine communications, many things which you can do with 5G. So I think the outlook will improve once the industry structure is conclusive and once that tariff hike has been taken. Then capex will not be so much of a worry.
Okay, so just within the industry itself, talk about from an investor perspective. Right now, what would the approach be if you had to take a call on a Bharti, or if you have to take a play on Jio via Reliance? Would it be too early to step in, wait for things to materialize a bit and then take a call on these stocks, or you can just be a participant from day one?
So we upgraded Bharti in this report. We don't have a cover on RIL, but we believe that Jio should trade at significant premium to EV EBITDA versus Bharti. So 70-80% premium, whatever. So Bharti is 8x. It should command a premium because it's got a big chunk of investments in fixed line, which is not yet translated into revenues, the fiber to home. But yeah, Bharti is already re-rated a little bit in the last few trading sessions post the right issue announcement. So it's kind of fairly valued at these levels unless this whole 5G catalyst was to play out. We've downgraded Infratel. And, you know, 5G means more capex. So it's interesting, you know, we don't find value in Infratel because there will be revenue pressures on Vodafone Idea in our view. And that will translate into more tenancy pressures at Infratel. And we believe that at some point of time, the Infratel tower assets and the Jio tower assets will need to combine in a post 5G scenario. Standalone, there is no operating leverage, and it's difficult for them to, because Infratel gets only tenancies from Bharti in a post 5G scenario, and Jio tower assets only from Jio. So they will, and towers are valuable. It's just the structure which needs to change to derive this operating leverage or multiple tenancies.
But that still doesn't expect, why would you believe that the Bharti Infratel then is a sell? Even if the merger is to happen, we don't know the valuations right now, and you yourself said that the demand for tower assets will be high. Yeah,
but whenever these mergers happen, when it's operator-driven mergers, you never know whether there is value creation for minority shareholders, and by that time it happens, there will be, the more and more revenue market share declines happen at Vodafone Idea, the Infratel stock also is directly correlated to that.
So you don't like the uncertainty with Bharti Infratel?
Absolutely. The medium-term visibility is not there.
You've completely sidelined Vodafone Idea.
No, it's not. It is like this. If this scenario which we are painting, if this doesn't plays out, and let's say there is a delay in 5G rollout by 2-3 years for whatever reasons, then I think there will be 25% revenue market share is what we see them reaching to from current 32. That's the stop loss. That's where it stops, and then they could gradually come back in the game. But if they have to participate in another big capex upgrade, that's where we are worried about.
Okay, got that. An interesting conversation. Rajiv, thanks very much for joining, and appreciate you taking out the time.